Hello, my name is Asha Sampet. Welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Waste, recycling, business and job creation, a Cameroonian company has found the winning solution against pollution.
Where we might need a lot of resources, we've made do with the means that can be found locally. This includes manual collections, manual sorting, using tricycles, and raising local awareness, methods that can work in Africa.
Supporting the activity of African SMEs weakened by the consequences of COVID-19 is the mission of local banks in partnership with the Islamic Development Bank.
The first step is to allow the company to remain intact, standing. During this phase, what had to be avoided was that the company suffered the effects of the pandemic, shut down operations and afterwards struggled to restart.
Morocco has achieved its renewable energy targets by relying on solar power with the construction of new power plants.
With its experience in the projects it is currently developing, Morocco could become a focal point for investors in energy production. Actors from Morocco and the rest of the Maghreb that export energy to Europe.
It's a sector that is gaining ground in Africa and is doing particularly well in Cameroon. I'm talking about the collection and recycling of used objects, especially plastics. For some time now, the rubbish littering the streets of many African cities no longer boils down to an environmental tragedy. On the contrary, some perceive it as an economic opportunity not to be missed. Cameroonian companies have decided to combine the fight against environmental pollution and the waste business, resulting in many job creations. Abubakar Siddiq Munchali brings us to Douala to discover a very ambitious young company in this promising sector. Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon. Despite the positive transformation of the city every day, this metropolis has another face, plagued by garbage of all kinds, abandoned in nature by the populations in many neighborhoods, who pollute the environment, clog drains and create floods.
Just last week we worked on this drain. We completely cleared the drain, but to our unpleasant surprise, the drain is still full of garbage.
A real headache and environmental disaster, especially with regard to plastic waste, which this young promoter and his company have chosen to tackle by building their reputation on an original solution adapted to the local situation.
We have tried to adapt the situation in Cameroon by developing alternative solutions. In other words, where we might need a lot of resources, we've made do with the means that can be found locally. This includes manual collection, manual sorting, using tricycles, and raising local awareness, methods that can work in Africa.
Red-Plast is the challenge of young Cameroonian students, influenced by an ecological approach to economics. It was designed within the framework of inter-university competitions in the country during the 2010 edition Environment and Management of Natural Resources section. A group of young people who wanted to provide a solution to the plastic pollution problem in the city of Dwala.
It's a project that was needed for Cameroon and for Africa because we have ambitious plans helping solve Africa's environmental issues.
The company was created in 2012 and since then has successfully handled environmental remediation and even business around plastic waste through recycling. Garbage is a gold mine, a niche of opportunity for Rodrigue NGONDO and his team.
Red-Plast collects all types of plastic, such as bottles, cling film, anything that's plastic on the site is collected.
The team said this young company crisscrossed the city of Douala to collect waste as part of the Eco-Collect program and also educate households on sorting garbage as well as schools. Other localities in Cameroon, such as Yaoundé, are not to be outdone.
Once the waste has been collected, it is transported to the treatment plant where it is sorted, washed and crushed. We can collect up to 2,000 tons at our collection points. As I said, we are expecting to reach 10,000 tons by 2025.
The recycling work or raw material production for other companies based on the waste collected in the field is done here at the factory, built in the heart of the industrial district Bonaberi, located on the outskirts of the city of Douala. Finished or semi-finished products are obtained at the end of a long and meticulous process which requires heavy technical means and varied skills.
When it arrives at the plant, it first gets weighed. The trucks enter the site, we have the workers who unload them, and then we weigh it.
The work here consists of several things. We manufacture the paving stones, we have the sorting of materials, we have the grinding, the weighing. We have a lot of work to do. Red-Plast workforce is predominantly young. During the holidays, the company sometimes even launches large waste collection operations or caravans for young school or university students with the help of many partners, municipalities, businesses and other actors involved in the fight against urban pollution and the healthy preservation of the environment. These collection operations allow them to earn money to better prepare to get back to school after the summer break by becoming environmental defenders and real plastic waste hunters. They also give them the opportunity to learn a lot of things, as in the case of these factory workers. Through my work, I've learned a lot of things that I did not know: how to transform products, transforming abandoned waste into finished products and turning them into paving stones, transforming them into products that are very useful. I'm very moved by my work. Red-Plast has many customers, companies that use these raw materials from waste transformation to manufacture other products out of it. These end products are, among others, tires, chairs, plastic tables, garbage bins, and the list is very long.
We make the products, granules, which are the raw materials for industry, replacing petroleum-based materials. 50,000 tons of granule are consumed every year by industry in Cameroon. Unfortunately, we can only produce 1,000 tons at the moment, but we intend to produce 10 to 20,000 tons by 2025, with the right investment.
For this promoter and the managers of several other organizations and NGOs also present in Cameroon on the field, as well as the market for the collection and recovery of plastic waste. This sector needs to be supported. Each year Cameroon produces 600,000 tons of plastic waste, and only 20% of this waste is recycled. In other words, there is still a lot to be done, but these recycling companies see this sector as a fantastic land of opportunity to explore. We remain in the environmental and energy concerns with the Great Renaissance Dam on the Blue Nile. The Ethiopian hydropower plant is at the heart of a conflict between Addis Ababa and its neighbors Egypt and Sudan. The two countries fear, in particular, a reduction in the water of the Nile on which agriculture depends, and point to potential failures in the structure of the dam. Negotiations led by the African Union have so far failed. Egypt now intends to take the cross-border conflict to the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow in early November. The objective: to force Ethiopia to a firm agreement on the operations of the dam. Côte d'Ivoire is boosting its post-COVID economic recovery. The country has been granted €151.5 million by the European Union, the European Investment Bank and Germany. The funds will come to strengthen the health and solidarity systems in favour of the most vulnerable populations. A budget of €54 million is planned to allow SMEs and large companies to access subsidised loans. And indeed, faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, banks and states have come together to save the SMEs particularly affected. Most often, in Africa, this approach has taken the form of a partnership with the support of development institutions. Our correspondents have carried out their investigations in Senegal and Burkina Faso to understand how the ICD, the private sector subsidiary of the Islamic Development Bank, works on the field with local banks. A report by Abdoulaye Barry and Bertrand Ziba. While Africa recorded its first COVID-19 case in Egypt on February 14, 2020, the continent did not experience high infection rates as recorded in other regions of the world. But the economic and social impact of the pandemic remains quite severe, in particular for SMEs. The collapse of international demand, especially Chinese and European, combined with state health measures, have caused local consumption to drop drastically. African and international development institutions associated with public and private banks are doubling efforts and resources to support SMEs impacted by the pandemic. The ICD, the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, is a great example in sub-Saharan Africa, supporting several vital sectors such as cotton in Burkina Faso or groundnuts, like here in Senegal.
The first step is to allow the company to remain intact, standing. During this phase, what had to be avoided was that the company suffered the effects of the pandemic, shut down operations, and afterwards struggled to restart.
We are 300 kilometers southeast of Dakar, in Cameroon, exactly where the Lansar company has known a solid growth in groundnuts since 1997. A strategic sector for Senegal, which supports a large part of the rural population. Today, executives of this SME have high ambitions and are preparing for the emerging global demand recovery.
Our goal is to process 100,000 tons per year. Now, we cannot reach our goal yet. And also for refining and an oil mill to install. In 6 months, we will put this in place and make oil and refined oil. The crude peanut oil is exported, and the refined oil locally.
An investment financed by the National Bank for Economic Development, BNDE, with the support of ICD, which has set up a €12 million credit line specially dedicated to reinforce the resilience of African SMEs to cope with the impacts of COVID-19. For Lansar, one of its clients, the bank has set up a specific line of credit.
This time we decided to innovate by financing its equipment in the form of leasing, and the total amount is 787 million FCFA. We are in a first phase of its financing because the overall need of Lansar exceeds these 787 million. It is 20 billion because its objective, of course, is to go to grinding but also to refining.
An industrial project which should participate in the recovery of the country's economic growth, but also in the reduction of unemployment and poverty.
On an economic perspective and in terms of jobs, you can see that 210 people are employed every day, including 60 permanent staff and 150 seasonal workers. For me, this company allows some people to stay here and not go to Dakar to look for a job. It has a bright future, and we have to do it here in Senegal. Note that 2/3 of the rural population today grows peanuts. From a social perspective, it feeds many families in Senegal. So Senegal has an interest and an obligation to support this sector.
For Senegalese SMEs, La Société Lansar and Celle d'Afrique, both in agribusiness, Bio24 in the medical sector, and the transport company Sahel Bamtare are all the beneficiaries of the COVID fund for an amount of 10 million CFA francs. For BNDE, this partnership with the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector has opened the doors to other institutions and therefore other sources of funding.
Thanks to the ICD, we have other institutions that have joined. The BOAD came, the AFDB came, African Bank is accompanying us. Today it is a moment of pride for BNDE to have supported more than 70 companies to the tune of 7 billion CFAF and helped to have saved more than 7,000 jobs during this period.
Burkina Faso is a good illustration of how development institutions and private banks can successfully put in place financial resources that meet the needs of SMEs in the face of COVID-19. With an annual production of nearly 3 million tons of cotton, the so-called African white gold is the other economic pillar of West and Central Africa. On its own, it supports 15 million small producers and accounts for 40% of export earnings. But this idyllic picture should not hide the difficulties encountered by SMEs in the sector, which have to face the vagaries of the climate and world prices, and for 2 years now, the economic and social impact of the pandemic, like here in Burkina Faso.
It must be said that, like other companies, Socoma has also suffered the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. We must remember that this pandemic caused a depression in world cotton prices during the first 2 quarters of 2020, triggering shortfalls in sales. This pandemic has also caused delays in the shipment and sending orders.
In this case too, a partnership between a private bank, Chorus Bank International and ICD, enabled to set up a credit line to meet the needs of these Burkinabe SMEs who wish to strengthen their transformation capacity. Burkina Faso is only transforming 5% of its production today and meet the increase in international demand after COVID. It's the plan of Socoma.
We have the project for the construction of the 4th unit within Socoma. It was a project that dates back to 2017, before the COVID-19 pandemic, and also before the security crisis in eastern Burkina Faso. This is a new plant which will have a capacity of 45,000 tons of seed cotton per year for 150 days of work.
With an annual production of 80,000 tons of cotton and a turnover of 45 billion CFA francs, the company has nearly 900 employees and supports 60,000 farmers. Funds from Chorus Bank, ICD and BOA will help build its new production unit for an investment estimated at 9 billion CFA francs, nearly 14 million euros.
We have supported the Socoma company through the construction of a 4th cotton ginning unit in Ouagaye, with funding of nearly 3.25 billion CFAF. We are satisfied with this funding, which will help strengthen our country's cotton production and also provide jobs for people in the area where the factory is located in Ouagaye. And we thank ICD for granting this facility to Chorus Bank in these difficult times when banks need liquidity to support their activities.
Development banks, as well as public and private banks, are striving to sustain African economies, and their work are now starting to bear fruit. These moves will allow African SMEs to once again play the leading economic and social role they played in their country before the pandemic. For the IMF, if in 2020 Africa recorded the largest drop in its GDP for 20 years, it should return to an estimated growth at around plus 3.4% in 2021. Welcome back on Business Africa. How to promote the contribution of university education systems to contribute to innovative solutions. This was a central reflection during the first scientific week of the Francophonie organized by the AUF, the Francophone University Agency, and which was held last month in Bucharest, Romania. AUF Rector Slim Halbus presented a white paper to support cooperation and partnership within the French-speaking world. He joined me to discuss one of the flagship measures, the creation of youth employability centres. Slim Halbus, hello and thank you for joining me on Business Africa. Concretely, what will these Francophone employability centres look like?
Clearly, it's about launching a network of centres which are at the service of the employability of the students, with a space in the member universities of the AUF, which presents a certain number of services, in particular the services related to the employment itself, how to draft a CV, how to prepare for a job interview, but also additional training, which are called soft skills, to give students additional skills before joining the job market. There is also the professional certification, which is very much in demand by employers today. And then the entrepreneurial question and the entrepreneurial spirit. In short, a set of very interesting complementary training to provide students with an edge before they enter the job market. This is the concept, and it will be deployed all over the world. Around 70 employability centres will be built around the world, of which 40 will be in Africa.
And how are you going to involve companies in the process?
We invite them to the university to co-lead these employability centres with us so that they can explain their needs, and hence we can adapt by offering additional training to students to prepare them for the job market. In other words, train them to respond to the needs of these companies. And the companies are partners. They offer internships, and they also will benefit from these centres, since they will then be able to identify the best profiles, who will get the necessary training, and therefore who can be even more easily recruited. Because you should know that many companies come to us saying, we don't always find the best students who are properly trained in relation to their needs. Well, in the French-speaking employability centres, they will find them.
How does your project fit with the existing startup ecosystem?
Great question, because CEFs precisely complement the work of startups and, above all, the work of incubators. Why? Well, because often, in most African countries in particular, there is a missing link between the training of universities, which especially offer training in entrepreneurship, and then the incubators, which prepare businesses or the creation of businesses. The missing link between the two is the selection of the best incubation candidates. In most African incubators, we have an extremely high failure rate because there is not a system of selecting the most suitable candidates to go through the process of starting a business. We are going to have coaches, tutors, advisors who are able to identify the best student profiles, who are in training at the CEFs and who can turn the dream of creating their own business a reality, and not only becoming employable, but also employment generators. We will work in close collaboration with the incubators, and we believe that with this system of detecting the best profiles, we will increase the success rate of startups created by young Africans in particular.
Slim Halbus, thank you very much. eNaira and eCedi, these are the names of two cryptocurrencies that will be launched this month by Nigeria and Ghana. The two major West African economies have been overwhelmed by the massive adoption of cryptocurrencies. This virtual money, which is not controlled by monetary authorities such as central banks, several countries including Rwanda, Kenya and South Africa are considering creating their own cryptocurrency. But the governments of Accra and Abuja are the first to take the plunge with the assistance of foreign partners. The humanitarian situation is dire. In northern Ethiopia, the regional state of Tigray is in conflict with the Addis Ababa government. 3 months ago, the United Nations warned that 400,000 people were threatened by famine. This terrible scenario is becoming a reality despite a ceasefire. Humanitarian aid is blocked and not reaching the region. US President Joe Biden has just confirmed that sanctions will be applied if negotiations between the two parties are not concluded. Let me now turn to Morocco, where a gigantic solar and wind farm project in the Gelmin region is being designed. The energy could be exported to England through a submarine cable. If materialized, this project could be the culmination of Moroccan efforts to make clean energy triumph. Our journalist, Teddy Emor, examined these ambitions to increase the share of clean energy in the kingdom's electricity production. Take a look.
Mohammed VI, the King of Morocco, says he wants to end the country's dependence on imported energy. As the kingdom has neither gas nor oil, 90% of its energy requirements come from abroad. The wind farms, dams and solar installations should produce 6,000 megawatts of power, 40% of Morocco's current energy requirements. The Ain Beni Matar thermal solar plant in northeastern Morocco, close to the Algerian border, is a keystone of a new strategy that may well make the country a net exporter of energy.
Morocco
intends to export the energy it produces from solar power, as well as other sources, to Europe or sub-Saharan Africa. We are also keen to capitalize on projects like this to promote South-South integration and cooperation.
The African Development Bank is the project's principal financial partner, providing 80% of the investment for the plant, a total of approximately $370 million. The Ain Beni Makhtar plant was inaugurated by King Mohammed VI in 2008. With its proximity to the Maghreb-Europe gas pipeline as well as a power line, the location of the site is ideal, making it possible to transfer the power produced directly onto the national grid. Above all, this site has an average of 300 days of sunlight a year. It is also the first hybrid thermal solar installation in Africa, combining gas and solar power. Environmental factors were key in designing the 470 megawatt plant that already provides 13% of the kingdom's electricity.
We use natural gas, which is the cleanest fuel energy-producing fuel. We rigorously monitor atmospheric emissions from the chimneys, and we are below the limit. That's a good thing, as the installation does not have a harmful effect on the environment.
The plant's solar panels cover an area of more than 200 acres. In a matter of years, the country could be self-sufficient in energy and no longer at the mercy of fluctuating oil prices. With innovations in green energy production, the kingdom also aims to showcase the best of what renewable energies have to offer and attract others keen to benefit from its experience and know-how.
With its experience in the projects it is currently developing, Morocco could become a focal point for investors in energy production. Actors from Morocco and the rest of the Maghreb that export energy to Europe. We are interconnected and are already set to exchange thermal energy. This is also an opportunity for Europe to take advantage of sites with huge renewable energy potential.
Morocco's strategy to produce renewable energy using photovoltaic is highly innovative. But to achieve self-sufficiency, the kingdom, already connected to Spain and Algeria, has still some time to go to become a major energy hub for both sides of the Mediterranean.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 560, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question, what does Red-Plast collect? Iron, household waste, plastic? Second question, what is the amount of the credit line granted by the ICD to BND in Senegal? 12 million euros, 14 million euros, or 20 million euros? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website, africaonair.com, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 560. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 559. Here are the details. First question, what is convexity in Nigeria? Answer, a center for startups. Second question, what does Mamadou grow in the desert? Answer, tomatoes and eggplants. That's it, Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel, for a new edition of Initiative Africa. We will speak to journalist and writer Siddiq Abba, who will tell us about the security crisis in the Sahel. In the meantime, you can watch this program again on our news website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Goodbye.